One door closes and another opens.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in the finale of Agatha All Along. And I just have to say, this show was an incredible surprise. At first, I thought it was a show that nobody wanted, but then it became essential Marvel viewing and one of my all-time favorite Disney Plus Marvel shows. It has been a pleasure to break it down for you every week, and the finale gave us a lot to talk about, so let's start breaking it down. But first, quick reminder, we are going on tour, taking ScreenCrush live to 11 cities where we're going to meet you and nerd out together. Our first show is November 14th in Boston, but I'm going to give you more details a little bit later in the video. So the title of the episode, Mother, Maiden, Crone, is the last line of the first chorus in the Ballad of the Witch's Road. The reason it's the title for the last episode is because it was the last line that Agatha sang at Nicholas's grave. And every episode this season has taken its title from that song, which, in hindsight, was a very subtle hint that, like always, it's been Agatha all along. But the phrase Mother, Maiden, Crone has a deeper significance. Now, as we pointed out in our WandaVision videos, these are the three aspects of the goddess, representing three stages of womanhood.
This is also why witches often appear in threes in great literature, such as Macbeth and Hocus Pocus.
Right, and specifically in this episode, Agatha begins as a maiden, becomes a mother, and then ends the episode as a gray-haired ghost, the crone. So the episode begins in 1750, 57 years after Agatha killed her coven and began her rampage of witch murdering. Now, because Agatha absorbed the energy of other witches, this means that she was able to avoid death. So I'm guessing that Rio saw Agatha as a companion to her because she was one of the few mortals that would not be afraid of death. Maybe Jen's even right.
How did they even meet?
Over corpses, I imagine.
And Agatha calls her,
Please, my love!
which is similar to Thanos in the comics. Thanos was a worshipper and an unrequited lover of Mistress Death, and that's the reason why he snapped away half the universe in the Infinity Gauntlet comic book. Not for nothing, there's also a limited series where his love of death becomes literal, and it's gross. We open on Agatha literally running from death as she's about to give birth. Now, this show deals with themes of womanhood, specifically how women who don't fit into a narrow view of what's acceptable are punished. Now, as a society, we intrinsically connect birth and womanhood, but even as a mother, Agatha doesn't fit into the societal roles because she is a single mother. Like, quite literally, there is no father in the picture. After giving birth, she says,
You are made from scratch.
which of course is where he gets his last name, Scratch. But as Catherine Hahn confirmed in an interview with Creative Company, Agatha and Rio's love,
they didn't need men. So of course men were like, the hell, like their babies are born, there's no men.
Yeah, you know, person, I just think this show is so great. I like it so much, I signed up for an Agatha fan newsletter. And hang on a second. Hello? Oh, I may have won an Agatha All Along gift card? That's amazing.
Doug, hang up.
But person, AAA is giving me a free roadside emergency kit, and I don't even own a car. Hey, do we have a credit card number?
Douglas, that is a scam call.
Oh, jeez. Well, how did they get my number?
Well, see, that's what's so messed up. They bought your number legally from online data brokers. The internet, guys, is filled with these shady people who pay big money just for access to your private data. And I know this because I personally used to get a ton of spam phone calls and emails.
Oh, but you don't get those calls anymore?
Very, very rarely, because I signed up for Incogni. They're the sponsor of this video. Incogni is by far one of the best products that I talk about on this channel. This is the app that they don't want you to know about. And you can sign up right now with our link below using the code ScreenCrush to get an exclusive 60% off an annual Incogni plan at incogni.com/ScreenCrush. You guys would be shocked how much of your personal information is just out there on the internet. Like your address, your phone number, your credit history, your medical history. These shady companies can get this info so easy, it is scary. Like you may have noticed, you sign up for some newsletter or search for your favorite TV show, and then suddenly you get bombarded with targeted ads or robocalls. That's because these companies sell your data to giant firms called data brokers, and then they sell your information to other advertisers. So far, Incogni has found 339 companies that were selling my sensitive information. Guys, we are talking about your search history, your financial details, your health history, and then these companies were selling that information to the highest bidder. Incogni even tells you the dangers associated with these companies, like data leaks, spam calls, and even stalking. It is very scary stuff. But Incogni then contacts those companies on your behalf, and then those companies have to legally remove your information. So far, Incogni has completed 287 removal requests on my behalf, so my personal information is now being suppressed. After signing up, I get almost no spam spam, and I do not get robocalls like the one Doug just got. So I highly recommend giving Incogni a try. Use my code ScreenCrush with the links below to get an exclusive deal, 60% off an Incogni plan. It is a great deal that you don't want to miss. I highly recommend this service. Now, back to what I was saying. And this might be why he was sentenced to die. He's literally the son of death. And this is also implied in their fight in episode 8. Rio says,
"This walk with another woman's son on a road that doesn't..."
Stop!
Which referred to the fact that, by allowing him to live, Agatha actually kept Nick from her other mom. Now, I should note two other things here. One, Nicholas's magical creation creates a parallel with Wanda, who of course created her two sons with magic. And two, the devil is often referred to as Old Scratch or the Nick. Now, I bring this up because we noticed a lot of devil imagery associated with her son. They are followed around by a goat, an animal often associated with Old Scratch himself. And as our intern Elias pointed out, the Devil Tarot card features a goat as well as a man and woman linked by chains. Now, the meaning of the card is to feel trapped by circumstances of your own design. Now, these two people represent Adam and Eve, but in this case, it could also represent Agatha and Nick, being tethered to one another as they perform the devil's work, killing witches. The goat, or the devil, literally looms over Agatha and Nicholas as Agatha becomes more and more addicted to stealing witches' power. She is also trapped between short-term pleasure, being with her son, and long-term pain, knowing that she's going to live centuries without her boy. All of this is symbolized by the meaning of the original Devil Tarot card. So when she and baby Nicholas encounter a coven in the woods, they are singing Greensleeves.
Oh, I know. You're not feeling well. Oh, shh.
So this ballad dates back to the 1500s, and it's thought to be written by Henry VIII. The lyrics they sing here are, "Alas, my love, you do me wrong, to cast me off discourteously, for I have loved you well and long, delighting in your company."
Yeah, geez, that is a very Henry VIII kind of song.
It really is, and the song has a deeper meaning at this very moment. So the lyrics, "Alas, my love, you do me wrong, to cast me off discourteously," shows how Agatha was spurned by her coven, and now in return she will spurn all the covens that she meets over the centuries. So this circle around the coven is called boundary stones. Now, boundary stones are an ancient form of magic that divides regular land from private, magical, sacred spaces, which allows for witches and occultists to perform spells and other magic safely within their grounds. And if you look closely, they even glow yellow when she steps over them. So I'm wondering if maybe these stones even had runes carved into them. And the Latin the witch speaks,
Te acipimos in circulum.
Translates to, "We welcome into the circle." By allowing Agatha to pass through the stones, they allow her into the coven. And this is why one witch screams, "Who let you in?" as they die. Now, as they leave, Agatha says,
I think we're going to be very good at this.
So this implies this is a new behavior for Agatha, and I have some theories on why she started right after having a child, but we'll get to that in a bit. So then she starts to use Nicholas as part of her long con to steal witches' powers, and when he asks why they can't just join a coven, she replies,
"Because then they will try to kill us."
So this is showing us that Agatha is still reeling from her past trauma when her own mother's coven tried to kill her in Salem. And then she also says,
If you want to survive, get used to this feeling.
which is very similar to what Jennifer and the others told Billy.
You wanted her power. That's what this has always been about for you, isn't it?
Of course it is. That's what all of this is about, for any of us.
The implication here being that in order for a witch to survive, she must seek out power at any cost. But as this show demonstrates, a witch needs her coven, and inadvertently, Agatha admits this in the next scene. But first, we learn that Nicholas was actually the author of the Witch's Road melody.
Walk, walk, walk the road. I walk the windy road.
Now, overall, the lyrics do change over the years, but it's important that Nick's version is very sweet and simple, like a nursery rhyme. This shows how the nursery rhyme, and in a way Agatha, started off with pure intentions. And we actually got a hint that Nicholas wrote the song all the way back in episode 1. The first time we see his name is actually on a choir trophy. And this also makes this argument from episode 4 all the more funny and so much sadder.
The ballad clearly says, "With coven true, glory shall be thine."
Does it? It's Coven 2.
You just know Agatha was resisting the urge to say, "I wrote the damn song." But also, she says the line is,
Burn and brew with Coven 2, and glory shall be thine.
and that's because the song was originally just about them, her and her son. And damn, this reveal was amazing, that the Witch's Road was actually a long con invented by Agatha and her son to steal the power of witches. Now we're going to dive into the clues and meaning in just a bit, but first, think about what this means thematically. The loss of Agatha's son really cemented her detachment from everyone. From this point on, she can only ever use her son's song, her grief, as a way of disconnecting from others, because she refuses to face her trauma. She even says this later on.
Because I can't face him!
Then she outlines the limits of her power. Now first, she says what she is able to do, but notice how these are also all abilities that other witches in her life possess.
I can cast illusions. I can control a feeble mind. I can move objects using my will.
I also like that she says that she can control a feeble mind, like Ralph Boner.
Boner.
But then she outlines what she cannot do, and notice these are the abilities of her future coven.
But I cannot heal you. I cannot protect you from what's coming, and I cannot divine when she will return.
So even at the height of her witch killing spree, Agatha is basically admitting that she does need the abilities of a coven to protect her son. Also, notice that he calls it,
Use your purple.
and that's actually how she refers to her magic with Rio in episode 1.
Let me get my purple back.
And then we get this sweet montage of the two of them riding the Witch's Road. And it's this slow-paced, just moving little sequence. And I just want to point out that, like this
Down the road, down the winding road.
exists in the same universe as this. And this.
This is my son, Scar.
In the montage, he blows this dandelion. So there's a lot to unpack here. So think about dandelions for a second. They sprout up, they're beautiful, but their lives are very short-lived, like the life of Nicholas. Then they quickly just become seeds that regrow easily. It is the cycle of life and death in just a few days. Now this was all foreshadowed by the seed that Agatha finds in her locket during the death trial. So now let's talk about the twist that Agatha and Nicholas not only wrote the Ballad of the Witch's Road, but they also made the whole thing up. Now on our Discord, you guys have guessed a lot of twists on this show. By the way, our Discord is like a super fun community. It's really cool. It's free to join. The links are below. I'm on there all the time. We have a blast. Come join us. One ScreenCrush fan, Apoorv, even guessed that Billy created the road, inspiring our Billy All Along t-shirt at our merch store.
Wait, we have a merch store?
Why, yes, Doug, we do. Now, we're only going to have our Agatha parody merch for about another week, so act now if you want to get your Beast Tarot card, or Get On Losers, or Flying the Cursed Road, or this brand new Witch Brat shirt. We have lots of other fun parody Marvel merch, like, woo, I'm about to make a name for myself. Links for all of these and more are below. Thanks for supporting our channel. But anyways, no one on our Discord guessed that Agatha and Nicholas made up the road. And thematically, this is a perfect choice. The road is designed to be a temptation, to offer witches whatever it is that they desire the most. For Jen, it was to break her binding. For Alice, it was to lift a curse. For Lilia, it was to basically lose her power. But Agatha related to Billy because their desires are the same. They both claim to want power, but what they actually wanted was to be reunited with the people they love. And this is fitting because the road is a symbol of the love that Agatha and her son share together. When Rio appears to him in his sleep, she is wearing her green cloak and holds a green flame. Now, the name Rio Vidal means River of Life, and as we talked about in our last video, life and death are two sides of the same coin, and River of Life could also be a reference to the river Styx, the gateway to the underworld in Greek mythology. Now, she shows up on a day in which they don't kill any witches.
We can kill more witches tomorrow.
So earlier I mentioned that it seemed like Agatha was new to methodically killing covens, and in episode 4, Rio says,
"You get your power, and I get my buddies."
I think that Agatha began killing covens as a way to stave off Nick's death, and that's why, the one day they don't kill, Rio returns. Nick leaves with Rio willingly, as if he knows her.
But why?
Well, I think it's because he already knows Rio because she is his other mother. So think about all of this in modern day, when these witches believe these horrible rumors about Nicholas.
Did you know she traded her own child for the Book of the Damned?
When Rio asked her why she let the witches say those things, Agatha said,
"Because the truth is too awful."
And that entire fight makes a lot more sense in retrospect. I already talked about how by keeping Nick alive, Agatha kept Rio from her son. And in that fight, Agatha also says,
"You gave me nothing. You took."
And that's very fitting if Agatha had to kill to keep her son alive. Rio didn't just take their son, eventually she took Agatha's humanity by forcing her into continuous murder. I also think this gesture is so important. Agatha hates Rio for taking her son, but Rio says,
"No one in history has had special treatment like you."
Rio simply is doing her job, and she isn't happy about taking Nicholas. Even as she does something that she knows will damn her and Agatha's relationship forever, she takes him sweetly. Also, notice that she prevented him from seeing his own body. When Alice dies, she is forced to confront her death, but Rio takes Nikki peacefully. Honestly, I doubt he even knew what happened. When she awakens, notice the camera is laid sideways to show how her entire world is about to be turned over on its side. And her pleas here are just heartbreaking. It reminds me of when another MCU character faced imminent mortality too young.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go, sir, please.
And then Agatha gives us some liner notes on the song that are just heartbreaking.
I bury my own heart here with you, my child.
So she buried her heart with Nicholas and became a cold and mean person, just like how she buried Mrs. Hart in episode 4. And I think this moment is when she truly started murdering witches for power. Again, I think she originally murdered to save Nicholas, but now that he's gone, it is purely for personal gain. She puts lavender on his grave. Now, symbolically, lavender stands for love and tranquility, and in witchcraft, it's used to create spells for calmness and sleep. It's Agatha's witchy way of sending her son into the afterlife peacefully. After she says goodbye, she sings their song one more time, albeit with the saddest lyrics of all.
Our mother loves you so.
And I want to highlight how this song was always a protection song of sorts. Originally, Agatha used the song to attract and kill other witches, which granted Nicholas with a longer life. And then she sang the song as a way to send him into the afterworld. And let's not forget that the most popular version of the song, Lorna Woo's version, was actually a protection song for Alice. And then she sang the song as a way to send him into the afterworld. And let's not forget that the most popular version of the song, Lorna Woo's version, was actually a protection song for Alice. Now, it's not surprising that the Witches' Road Con began after Nicholas's death. For one, the title hints at it. The road was never real, it was just Agatha all along. But secondly, the metaphorical road was Agatha's descent into anger and selfishness. Again, I'm not saying she was ever a great person, but she did genuinely care about her son. Without him, she has no strong ties to her own morality. And so, of course, she begins killing witches purely for personal gain. Now, as we go through the witches montage, we see Agatha at points in history that were already alluded to. For example, here she's wearing the same hat and dress that she wore when she survived the Titanic. This outfit is from the 1920s, the same period where she bound Jennifer. This also brings Agatha's journey full circle. We started the season with Agatha completely out of control, trying to claw her way out of someone else's illusion and flipping through costumes. Now we see her at a time when she had complete control and the different costumes represent her long lifespan. So when she sees the door, I think that this is the first time that she realized that Billy was a Maximoff.
But doesn't she think later on it could be her son?
I think she hopes it was, but deep down she knew it wasn't true. You see, in this episode, it's revealed that Nicholas didn't have magical abilities, or at least wasn't displaying them when he was 6 years old. I think that, at one point, she deluded herself into thinking that it was her kid, but honestly, the moment she realized it was another hex, she knew he was a Maximoff.
You're so much like your mother.
I also love this little fourth wall break when she's looking directly at the camera. It almost makes me wonder if she helped Billy realize that he created the hex while she was in ghost form, especially since we get the ghost reveal right after. I love this version of Agatha. This is the most comic accurate costuming by far. Now in the comics, she's very old, or she was until they made her look like this, but we're ignoring that for now. The point is that in her first appearance, she looks like an actual grandma, and they replicated that in her ghost design. Now, they do incorporate some elements of her new design into this costume as well. For example, the purple and silver is her color scheme currently in the comics. Also, it's not surprising that she returned as a ghost. For one, she spends a lot of time as a ghost in the comics. In fact, in the great 2016 Scarlet Witch run that lightly inspired this show, she is a ghost the entire time. But this isn't just comic accurate. She did it to spite Rio. Remember, in episode 5, Rio says,
I hate ghosts.
Even in death, she can't let Rio win. Agatha says,
I took a calculated risk.
Now, way earlier in the season, Agatha says that she can't take Rio's powers because...
You know that would kill me.
So, what she's implying here is that she took a gamble with taking Rio's power. She knew it would probably kill her, but she decided to try it out anyways. But let's be real, she just can't admit that she sacrificed herself for Billy. Then Agatha says,
The song doesn't mean anything. It never did.
But that's not quite true. The song did mean something. It just wasn't a doorway to another dimension. But the song represented motherly love and familial love.
Hi.
Oh my God, are you ever just gonna stop appearing?
Probably not. I came to talk about Billy's room because there are so many clues that he created the hex. First of all, these triangle lights appear in the 80s themed trial, and this poltergeist poster is a reference to Evan Nora appearing as a ghost on the stairs, which is very similar to this scene. Behind Billy, there are several images of the moon. He is obsessed with the moon, and that corresponds to all of the moon imagery and moon phases we saw in the trials. We also see several hourglasses, including one that we actually saw in episode 7. And speaking of time, there is a Saw poster, which probably inspired Billy to do timed trials. In Saw, each victim is given a certain amount of time to solve their puzzle, and if they fail, they die. There's also an as above, so below sticker, which is a recurring motif throughout the series. And there's a Haxton poster. Haxton is a 1922 documentary that chronicles the history of witchcraft through the ages, just like Billie moved through different ages in his trials. There's also a Billie Eilish poster from her debut album, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? Now, the title of the album is pulled from the song Bury a Friend, which could reference how Billie literally buried his friends because he accidentally killed his coven members. There's also Craft poster. That movie revolves around a coven who deals with a member becoming addicted to power, much like Agatha. And a Carrie poster, which was visually referenced heavily in the 1970s trial. Oh, and this Fleetwood Mac poster also appeared in the 70s trial. And, of course, we can't forget the myriad of Wizard of Oz references. Okay, that's all I have. I'm gonna go now, but happy late Halloween.
Ugh, creepy. Now, one cool detail she missed, though, is that Billie has a Trans Lives Matter flag, similar to the Protect Trans Kids poster in Gwen Stacy's room and Across the Spider-Verse. So then Billie realizes that he is actually responsible for the deaths on the road.
Are they ghosts too?
Wait, why was Agatha the only one who came back as a ghost?
Because Yoda taught her special meditation techniques between trilogies.
Wait, what, really?
No, it's really simple though. She's the most powerful, and she has unfinished business on Earth. She needs to guide Billie. It's also amazing how much sweeter she is to Billie about his hex than she was to Wanda. Remember, Wanda didn't exactly kill anybody in her hex, but Agatha was vicious.
Heroes don't torture people.
Now, I'm of two minds about this. The first thought is that Agatha is no longer corrupted by the Darkhold. The Black Fingers are gone. And in our last breakdown, I touched on the fact that the Darkhold did make her a worse and more villainous person. Not saying she's great without the book, but look, I mean, she's not killing kids.
I actually did bite a kid once.
The second reason, and probably the more likely reason, is that she just has a softer spot for Billie. With Wanda, she was incredibly jealous, but with Billie, she's much more maternal. Then we cut to Jennifer fleeing the Hex, and notice this is actually very similar to the shot at the end of WandaVision. But when Wanda fled, the sun was setting, signifying the end of her old life. Jennifer is flying into the sunrise, symbolizing that she gets to start anew. Agatha says,
If you want to be a witch, get used to this feeling.
which is the same thing that she said to her own son.
If you want to survive, get used to this feeling.
Now, it's easy to assume that she's saying this just because she's evil, but I think it's more complicated than that. Powerful witches always run the risk of accidentally hurting people. I mean, think about it. Neither Billie nor Wanda meant to form hexes, and they unintentionally hurt people when they did. The power passed to Lilia caused her to live her entire life in fear of the next awful event. Lorna Wu cursed her daughter just by having her, and Agatha traumatized her child by killing witches just to keep him alive. It's sort of like the Spider-Man thing.
With great power comes great responsibility.
And it's unfortunately inevitable that people will get hurt in the process. Now we go back to Agatha's old home, and I can't believe that we missed this in the last episode, but on her grave there are azaleas, which are the flowers that she asked Rio to plant.
Why don't you plant a few azaleas on your way out?
And then we see Agatha lying across the washing machines, which looks very similar to the Rocky Horror movie poster from the promotional materials. So when Billie tries to banish Agatha, she says,
I can't face him!
Now, I've seen a lot of people say that she's talking about Nicholas, and that's possible. If so, I think that she can't face how she traumatized her own child by killing witches around him. But we have another theory. A lot of people are still wondering how Agatha got the Darkhold in the first place. Now we know as late as this flashback that she did not have the Darkhold. Look, no black fingers. So how did she get the Darkhold between then and WandaVision? In episode 3, Jen says,
Did you know she traded her own child for the Book of the Damned?
And that he might be an agent of Mephisto. Now we know from this episode that that's not true, but maybe she did trade something for the Darkhold. Her own afterlife. Maybe when she dies, not ghost dies, but like dies, she'll become a servant of Mephisto. And that would fit. It would explain how Agatha got the Darkhold, why he was referenced in this show, and, as we already know, he is going to appear in the show Ironheart. It would wrap up quite a few loose ends quite nicely. And it would mean that when Agatha says,
I can't face him!
she is not referring to Nick. She's talking about Mephisto.
Yeah, but doesn't she nod when Billie says Nicholas?
Yeah, but do you really think she's going to admit that she made a deal with Mephisto? And notice she doesn't agree when Billie says,
I'm sure he would forgive you for whatever you did.
Maybe Nick could get over the whole murdering witches to survive thing, but probably not a trade with Mephisto. Now, earlier I mentioned that we have a live show coming up, and we are so excited about it. At the live show, we just want to meet you guys and nerd out together. Our first show is in Boston on November 14th, but at the link below, you can find tickets to that show and all of our other shows. We're doing 11 this year and into next year. We're going to nerd out together, we're going to do trivia, we're going to take really controversial opinions and argue about them with you guys. It's just basically a chance for us to meet face to face and be in the same room together. together. We are so excited to come to your city. Check us out with the link below. Now, when she puts on the Mother Maiden Crone pendant, the symbol is erased and replaced with solid purple. This is because Agatha's actually moved out of this cycle entirely by dying. And then Billy says,
Spirit is my guide.
And this team up makes total sense. In the comics, Ghost Agatha is Wanda's guide and even helps her down the real Witch's Road. So it makes complete sense for the showrunners to copy this idea for the MCU. Also, when he said,
Coven 2.
I wanted to cry. Remember, Agatha and Jen argued about this in episode 4.
Balak clearly says, with Coven true.
No, it doesn't. It's Coven 2.
And Agatha was right about the line because, well, you know, she wrote it. But that was the original line because it was just Agatha and Nicholas. When Billy repeats it, he's really becoming her adopted son. Billy turns the old door into a tombstone. And I want to point out that their names are in the center of a pentacle.
I thought that was a pentagram.
Pentagrams don't have a circle around the star. So in the Wicca religion, pentacles represent the 5 elements of witchcraft: air, earth, fire, water, and spirit. And each witch in the coven represents one of those elements. Pentacles are also used to banish or to invoke spirits. In this case, I think the pentacle is to stop the dead coven members from returning so they can have a peaceful afterlife. And the series ends with Agatha saying,
Let's go find Tommy.
So I think this will lead directly into Vision Quest. That series will focus on all of the twins reuniting with their new and improved robot dad. Guys, I loved this series. I didn't know what to expect, and honestly, I didn't have high expectations, but it was so original and so cool. I really hope that we see Jack Schaefer at the helm of another Marvel show because, damn, she is good at this. Shout out to everybody who helped us write these scripts, from the Discord to the comments to our own staff members like Elias, and of course, big shout out to the writer of these videos, Brianna McLarty.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I really want to thank everybody who reached out to me on TikTok and Instagram with theories. It was great. It really felt like a community, and you guys made writing each week so much more fun. I hate to tell you this, but now you're in my coven and you can't leave. Sorry. No, but for real, thank you guys so much for watching and for all of the support, and I can't wait to see you guys the next time I get to cover a show.
So what did you guys think about the finale? Was it everything you wanted? Let me know down in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.